How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the second video that I'm doing for today. This video I'm going to be going over the patch notes. There was a lot of information that came out today, so I'm going to be going over some of the specifics. These are sort of the behind the scenes changes, like hero tweaks, reinforcement tweaks, bug fixes, that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not going to go over every single detail because that would make the video take forever. So I'm going to go over all of the major things that I found in these patch notes, and then if you guys want to see all of the specifics, you can check out the full patch notes for yourself. So let's just jump right into it. First off, we have hero changes. It says they added the ability crosshair for Kylo Ren's Frenzy and Emperor Palpatine's Chain Lightning. And then they fixed an issue that would not allow Darth Maul and Darth Vader to throw their lightsaber during a voice line action. They fixed an issue that could cause some of the abilities of Luke Skywalker, Darth Maul, and Yoda to affect enemies through objects. I've had this happen to me a lot, so this is a good fix. They fixed an issue that would prevent players from getting kill assists for multiple buff abilities that helped allies killing an enemy. So if you've ever buffed a teammate or something and then didn't get credit for the assist, now you will. And then they also changed the UI range for various abilities is now white when it affects enemies and yellow when it affects friendly players. And then the intro animations for heroes in the spawn and front end screen have been improved. And then getting into the specific hero changes, we have General Grievous up first. They fixed an issue that would cause General Grievous to drain too much stamina from an opposing player when using Unrelenting Advance. And then for Rey, they fixed an issue where Rey's Mind Trick wouldn't apply the correct visual effect for the screen for the affected player. And then Darth Vader has the big change where he can now attack and block while choking, which is a huge change for Vader. This is going to make him feel so much more dangerous. This is going to give him that Rogue One kind of vibe, or like Battlefront 2015 where you could activate the choke and then still use your other abilities. I am all for this change. I think this is going to be awesome. It's going to be really fun to try this out, and I'm looking forward to that. And then they also fixed an issue where Darth Vader would remain stuck in the choke animation if he used the choke and dash immediately after. This has happened to me a number of times, and it's very annoying, so I'm glad that they fixed that for Vader. Then up next, we have a pretty big one. We have Emperor Palpatine. He is getting a bunch of nerfs in this update, which I am all for. I'm excited for this. They removed the slow movement on Dark Aura. So if you did not know, the Dark Aura, anyone that was in the radius of Dark Aura would be temporarily slowed down, and this would cause a glitch in the game. This would make heroes get stuck where they couldn't sprint. I think this is probably why they're removing it. I could be wrong, but either way, I'm glad that they're getting rid of this. So now Palpatine will just do damage with Dark Aura, and he will no longer slow his enemies. And then they reduced the single-hand damage from 15 to 14, which isn't too crazy, but then they reduced the double-handed damage from 32 all the way down to 28. So that's a pretty big nerf to his double-handed damage, which should be a pretty good change. And then this is huge. They reduced the chain lightning radius from 26 cleared down to 18. So Palpatine will no longer be able to shock people that are like 3 rooms away from him. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been in my spawn and Palpatine would shock people in the throne room of Naboo, and his chain lightning would reach me clear back into the spawn area. So that definitely needed a nerf, and I think that's a great change. And then there's just various visual improvements to Dark Aura, and then they reduced Palpatine's damage against the TX-130. He would absolutely destroy the TX-130 tank, so that's a good change. And then they fixed an issue where chain lightning would occasionally go through blocking, which is another reason why Palpatine was so broken against heroes, because you could block and it wouldn't matter because Palpatine could still damage you anyway. So overall, Palpatine is getting a massive nerf, and I'm excited to test him out, and maybe I will no longer feel like I'm completely overpowered every time I choose him. And then next up, we have Anakin Skywalker and his nerfs, which I'm also excited for. His Pressure Star card, which is for his Passionate Strike, they reduced the value from 10, 20, 30, 40 to 10, 15, 20, 25. So that is referring to the bonus damage that Passionate Strike will do. And then they reduced Passionate Strike first strike damage on troopers and reinforcements from 130 to 70. So I'm not really sure what they mean by this, by the wording, but either way, it's getting nerfed pretty significantly. And then they reduced Passionate Strike damage on troopers and reinforcements from 250 to 180. So it will still one-shot most infantry, it won't one-shot heavies, and it will no longer one-shot most reinforcements. So I think this is a good change. And then they reduced the base damage of heroic impact, which I think they mean heroic might, to troopers and reinforcements from 120 to 100. So heroic might will be getting a nerf. And then the massive strikes card for Anakin deals more damage with his lightsaber attack, but his stamina costs are increased, kind of like Grievous. So you will do more damage with your saber swings, but it comes at the cost of draining more stamina. So some of these changes I'm okay with, but they didn't really nerf Anakin in the right way, in my opinion. The problem is his ability loop. Like, he'll pull you, he'll knock you over with heroic might, and then he'll just spam you with his swings before your character can even get up. And odds are you're probably dead just from Anakin pulling you straight to him. So they didn't fix the ability loop problem. I personally didn't think that Passionate Strike was the problem with Anakin, so it's interesting to see that they nerfed that. And hopefully these changes are enough to make Anakin no longer as OP as he was. This is Anakin's 6th nerf. And if the ability loop problem is still a problem and all this damage reduction doesn't fix his overpoweredness, then we might potentially see a 7th Anakin nerf in the future. So we'll have to test that out and see. Then for Count Dooku, they added a yellow circle around the crosshair to show when Dooku has a critical hit available with his initiative star card, which I'm pretty sure they did that in the last update. So I don't really know what extra thing they're adding to Dooku. Then for Yoda, they fixed an issue where Yoda's presence would not display the right amount of friendly characters who will be affected. Then they fixed an issue where the intended effects of Yoda's presence ability would not apply if the ability was used mid-air. And then they fixed an issue where users could receive a jumping advantage when using abilities in mid-air. And then for Luke, they have a small fix. They said they fixed an issue where users could receive a jumping advantage while using the push ability in mid-air. So this is getting rid of that effect where you could jump extra high by using your force push. So apparently that was not an intended feature, that was a issue. So that's kind of interesting to see that they're changing that. So you will no longer be able to jump super high with Luke's force push. Then for Iden, they fixed an issue where Iden's droid shield could not be manually deactivated. For Finn, they fixed an issue where Finn's a fight you can win milestone was not tracking properly. Then for Han, they increased damage to troopers for the shoulder charge ability from 150 to 200. So I pointed this out a couple videos ago for the things that were underpowered, and a lot of people gave me crap for this. So I'm glad that DICE agreed with me on this. I felt that Han's shoulder charge was kind of high risk, low reward because you would often hit infantry and they wouldn't die. So it's nice to see that you can now one-shot kill all infantry if you're able to make contact with Han's shoulder charge. And then Bosk is getting a number of changes. It says they timed the UI elements of Bosk proximity mines to reflect the moment when they actually become armed. An example would be the moment when they start to detect enemies in its vicinity. Now you will see the yellow radius circles appear around the mines. You know that they have become armed. This will also make it easier to experience the movement to their aiming speed that the star card trap arming speed brings. Then they fixed an issue where Bosk would throw only 3 functional proximity mines, having the multi-trap star card equipped. So now you will throw the appropriate amount. And then it just says Predator Instincts. I don't know what that means. And then they fixed an issue where the active time of Bosk's Predator Instincts was ending before intended. So Bosk is getting a number of fixes there. Then we have game mode and map changes. They removed the requirement for new matchmaking after each round in Blast, Strike, Extraction, HVV, and Hero Showdown. And then for Supremacy, there is now 2 random command posts that are assigned to each team every time players return to the ground phase during Supremacy. I think that's to kind of speed up the process. And then they added visible information to better connect the additional time granted in the ship phase based on the number of players who boarded during the boarding phase. And then they just did a few bug fixes where they just fixed different issues that were going on with Capital Supremacy. Then for co-op and instant action, they fixed an issue that could occasionally cause co-op players to matchmake on the wrong side or not be able to spawn into the game. I've had that happen a number of times. They fixed an issue that could cause certain AI enemies to suddenly disappear on co-op during phase transitions. They fixed an issue where the mini-map on co-op would not indicate squad mates that are spawned on the map and are far away from the player. They fixed an issue where the timer between phases on co-op would disappear if the character went out of bounds and returned to the combat area. Then they just fixed some visual issues. Then they fixed an issue that would not clear the AI players during outros on co-op. So just some small bug fixes for co-op mode. And then for instant action, they just fixed visual UI issues with the capturing area of command posts being displayed off-center on instant action across various maps. But then there's a big one for strike. There was a problem with the First Order Jet Trooper kind of breaking strike mode. So now they made it so that the Jet Trooper is no longer allowed to pick up the objective because they were just picking it up, flying clear across the map, and ending the match pretty much instantly. So they changed that. And then they just did some bug fixes for heroes versus villains. And then getting into some minor buffs and nerfs and stuff. For the Chapek Spy, they fixed an issue where the Stalker star card would not give the correct value for the Chapek Spy. Then they fixed an issue where the Chapek Spy milestone was not tracking the proper way. And then they also increased the length of the rapid fire ability. So this is kind of a big deal for the Chapek Spy because the rapid fire is a really good ability, but it never really lasted long enough. So I think this is a great change, and this should make the Spy even better than he was before. Then there's a little change for the First Order Jet Trooper. They implemented a feature where the Jet Trooper would automatically get spotted on scanners. That way people actually have an idea of where they're at. The Death Trooper is getting a bit of a nerf. Their health is going from 350 down to 320 because their kill death ratio on average is just way better than all the other enforcers, so they're giving a slight nerf to the Death Trooper. And then the Droideka is getting its buff. They're increasing the shield health from 550 up to 600, and then they're giving the Droideka a 50% damage reduction while they're in their wheel form. So this will help you at making quick escapes. This will help you while you're transforming, and overall this should make the Droideka a little bit better. And then the Sith Trooper is getting a buff to their rate of fire for their primary weapon, which I think is going to be very deadly. I thought that the Sith Trooper already had a pretty high rate of fire, so now that it's even faster, they're going to absolutely melt people. So definitely keep an eye out for the Sith Trooper because they're going to be a lot more powerful than what they already were. And then one of the big final changes we have is for the Officer. For the Officer, they made the Officer's battle command ability a 360-degree radius instead of forward-facing cone to allow more effortless team play. With this change, we also reduced the radius of the ability since you can now easily buff friends all around you. So just imagine Finn's ability or the Clone Commando. You activate it and it will just have this circle radius all around you all at once, instead of having that cone ability like it did before. And then they have also changed the Officer scoring. They reduced the amount of score you get for kill assists when you have buffed a friend with your battle command ability who later kills an enemy. And then they adjusted a visual effect on target weapons during the Officer's disruption. So I don't know if this affects battle points. It just says score. So I don't know if that means your overall score for like how good you're doing on the leaderboard, or like I said, if it affects your battle points. Now the problem with the Officer is that they are easily the best class for getting the hero or different reinforcements because they get battle points better than everybody else. Now with this change, I hope that this affects your battle point score because the Officer definitely needs a nerf in some regard to getting battle points, because a lot of people only use the Officer just so they can get the heroes. So I hope that when we actually test this out, that this is a nerf to the battle points, and I hope that this 360-degree radius is a lot better than the version that we have had with that cone. And that is going to do it for all of the major things that I saw in these patch notes. There are a little bit of bug fixes and tweaks that I didn't mention, so if you guys want to look over the whole thing yourselves, down in the comment section as the pinned comment for you guys. And that's going to do it for this video. So if you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about these changes down in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.
How convenient to have you all together. You saved me the trouble of hunting you down. The First Order will conquer you all. Soon we will reclaim the galaxy. Perhaps you'll take part.